This year in the Rottnest Channel Swim, landing fees are waived for event boats in a nod by the Rottnest Island Authority to the significant contribution skippers, spotters and paddlers play in the island's most iconic event.
New shark protocol provides increased surveillance, communication and allows for swimmer re-entry.
The addition of a dedicated event helicopter means drones will be strictly banned throughout the course on event day.
And a new Friday timing chip collection introduced, brought in to help reduce swimmer stress come race morning.
This is 10 News First.
Hello, I'm Narelda Jacobs.
And I'm Tim Gossage.
It's great to have you here for this special edition of 10 News First with the 2019 Rottnest Channel Swim just around the corner. We're all looking forward to another great event.
Whether you've participated before or this is your first time, the following briefing will help you prepare for your crossing and provide you with all the vital information you require for a safe and successful crossing to Rottnest.
The Rotto Swim is a fun day, but it's not without its risks. The association works hard to mitigate these. However, it's up to you to make sure you're well prepared and well informed so you can make safe and sensible decisions on the day.
Swimmers should be well conditioned for distance swimming and be well prepared for race day. Part of the preparation should be to practice race day situations so you're not surprised on event day if something doesn't work.
Well, in the lead up to any swim, first thing to do is make sure you're spending a lot of time in the water and getting as many kilometres up as you possibly can. Ensure that you spend some time in the water with your paddler. And that is to ensure that they know what your stroke looks like, but also to ensure that they know where to position themselves so you're not ending up with a paddler that's hitting you in the head or running into you on a regular basis, and that's not a good thing when you're in the middle of the ocean. Also, you just want to make sure that they know how you're going to be feeding and also ensure that they know that they're going to be on the wind side and you're going to be on the wayward side of the craft, just to ensure that you're protected from the wind as you go.
In order to make sure that everyone is on the same page for event day, the morning of the swim, I like to get together with my team members or my duo member on the weekend before just to make sure that everyone is very well versed on what's going to happen on race day, who's starting off the beach, where the swimmers are going to meet with the support crew and the skipper. Make sure that everyone has their roles in terms of who's going to bring the food, who's going to bring the water. Make sure there's extra supplies for your support crew and skipper. They're absolutely going to love you for it.
If you're a skipper, make sure your boat complies with the Department of Transport's marine safety regulations. The boat must be licensed to carry all passengers, including those in the water. All support boats must carry required minimum safety equipment, including extra life jackets to accommodate your swimmers and paddlers, and must have a working VHF radio. Vessels must be in current registration, be properly insured, including liability, display the correct navigational lighting between sunset and sunrise, and the master of the vessel must hold at least a recreational skipper's ticket.
So it's important that you plan well ahead and you do a lot of safety checks a month out, a week out, and maybe a few days out, but definitely on the day before as well, to go through the basics of, do you have all your safety equipment? Does the radio work? Is there fuel in the boat? Do I have a bung? Because obviously a sinking boat is always a bit of a problem. So once I think the safety's done, I think you also have to have a meeting with your team ahead of time. It's about making sure everybody in the team is understanding of what needs to be done on race day. Having conversations around where's the boat going to be on race day, where are we going to launch from, what does it look like if people haven't seen it before, for those that need to spot it off the beach, and making sure all the gear is being put on board ahead of time, food, water, etc.
The yearbook is an essential resource for not only swimmers but also skippers and support crew. You should ensure that every member of your team has read the yearbook and understands what the plan is for race day. Your swimsuits will be checked and they must comply with the event rules. If your swimsuit doesn't comply or you are wearing multiple suits illegally, you can still swim. However, the swim won't be recognised by the association. What a waste of time that would be. Now, if you have any medical conditions, check in with your GP to make sure your condition is stable and you are fit to swim. Now, if you take medication, make sure you have this with you on event day. particularly Ventolin for asthmatics and EpiPens for those with allergies. Let your team know what assistance may be required in the event you become symptomatic.
Preparation is king, especially in our family. We often have 4 solo swimmers. That's 4 boats, 4 paddlers, 4 lots of food and 4 lots of equipment. So in the afternoon, you'd make sure that you contact your paddler, you contact the boat, make sure that everyone is aware at what time they're going to be meeting, and then once they are ready, you make sure you go back and prepare yourself. You make sure your food is ready, make sure your equipment is ready. Ensure that you have a second set of goggles, another cap just in case. Make sure that you even have another set of bathers in case there's an incident there. With the food, just ensure that you have ample food, because I have had my paddler eat my food because they didn't have breakfast and they didn't have any food on the way over. So perhaps ask them to ensure that they have their own food as well.
A new introduction for the 2019 event will be a timing chip collection on Friday, the day before the swim. In addition to the regular event day morning collection, this will take place from 11 till 1 at Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club.
And now to event day. Whether you're a swimmer, skipper, paddler or support crew, it's important to know what your role is and have a plan. Skippers, as soon as you are on the water, make sure your marine radio is turned on and switched to the dedicated race channel, VHF channel 77. Be sure to keep the volume up throughout the day.
One of the key things that we need is that the skippers have their radio turned up at all times and are listening to announcements from Channel Swim Base. A perfect example of a skipper not doing this was in 2016 when we had a duo present to the Lewin and advise race officials that they could not locate their boat. 3 hours were spent looking for the boat. In the meantime, the swimmer had disappeared and they were found later on happily proceeding to Rottnest Island. When we asked them why they didn't have their radio turned on, the skipper said that they wanted their swimmers to listen to music to pass the time a little bit. Naturally, this was a waste of resources for the Rottnest Channel Swim officials, and the skipper served a 2-year ban for not adhering to the rules of having the race radio on.
As skippers are responsible for the whole team, including swimmers, paddlers and crew, it is important Channel Swim Base and all race officials can communicate with you, and equally you need to be able to communicate with them. At the start line, support boats are to remain at least 1,000 metres from the shore. There are buoys set on both the north and south side of the channel, which mark the boundary. Support boats can wait anywhere beyond that and cannot proceed towards the swim channel until the boat coordinator calls forward your swimmer's wave. This will happen via the race channel VHF 77. Swimmers, check in with your skipper on the morning of the event to make sure they are ready and getting into place. The starting swimmer needs to arrive at Cottesloe Beach at least 45 minutes before the start of their wave to sign on and pick up their timing strap if they have not already done so. Neither swimmers nor paddlers can be delivered to the beach by boat, and it is highly recommended you get a lift, as parking at Cottesloe on event morning can be difficult.
So it's race morning, the alarm's gone off, or perhaps you haven't even slept that night and you're ready to go. You get up and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to ring your paddler and you're going to ring your skipper. 10 minutes later, you're going to ring your paddler and you're going to ring your skipper. Just before you leave, you're going to ring your paddler and you're going to ring your skipper. The reason I say that is because I have had an incident where I've sat at the Lewin and watched the next 2 waves go through while I've looked at the horizon waiting for my boat to come out of Fremantle. So after you've done the phones, you would put your sticker on, your numbers on, and then put your first lot of sunscreen on. Make sure that you leave at a set time. You've already planned that time. Make sure you're in the car and you've left by the set time. Arriving Cottesloe, it's going to be dark and there's a lot of people still there. You need to get your paddlecraft down there. My advice is get your paddler and someone else to take it down. Don't risk an injury at the last minute and have them take it down there. Then you would put your next lot of sunscreen on, your wool fat. Make sure that you have your timing chip. So you go to the south side where the tents are, get your timing chip and put that on. Make sure it is already on your foot. Also, make sure if you need to go to the toilet that you plan ample time to be able to do that, because you could go to the toilet and find there are 20 other people waiting to go to the toilet, and that can be a frustrating thing and make you even more nervous. Spend the rest of the time speaking with some positive people, telling you that it's all going to be fine and you're going to make it.
Obviously, within a team, there's going to be only one of you starting off the beach, so the other 3 swimmers from the team will be meeting at the support boat and going off. But as a lead swimmer, I think it's the best to arrive at Cottesloe Beach about 1 hour before your wave time sets off, just to ensure that you have enough time to collect your timing chip, put sun cream on, Vaseline, catch up with your support paddler if you get the opportunity, just to make sure that you're prepared for where you're going to meet at the 500 metre mark. Another great thing is to make contact with the support boat, just to make sure that you know where they're going to be. You can best prepare for where you want to swim to as well, and make sure that the paddler is on the same page.
Swimmers will then need to move to the start line 10 minutes before the start of their wave. Paddlers may enter from the north or south and should enter the water 5 to 10 minutes before the start of their swimmer's wave. The hooter will sound and swimmers are off.
One of the most important pre-race discussions to have is what will your meet plan be on race morning. Now, your meet plan should cover off all the aspects on how the swimmer going off the beach is going to find the paddler and then the boat. Are they waiting for you on the north or south of the channel? Are you spotting them or are they spotting you? What differentiates you from others? What is your ETA? And once you have agreed on a meet plan, make sure you all stick to it come race morning. Remember, swimmers may only meet up with their paddler after the 500 metre yellow buoys, not before. Once the swimmer and paddler are united, the next step is finding the boat. Remember to have that meet plan locked down and stick to it.
So the first 1.5 kilometres of the race can definitely be the most stressful. To alleviate that, you need to have a very set meet plan and to keep that meet plan. So it doesn't matter whether there are 30 people on kayaks waiting for other swimmers in a set place. That is where you plan to meet your paddler. Just ensure that they're aware whether you're going on the southern side or the northern side. But have some sort of way to identify you. They should know your stroke, but also it might be a call sign. It might be something that you both call out and you'll be able to hear them. Once you've connected with them, you're going to go towards the Lewin. Your boat would have been called in by officials by then. But if you can't find your boat, don't stress. There are officials there, and once you give them the details of who your skipper is and what the boat's name is, they will very quickly find that boat and bring it to the Lewin, and you're off racing.
Finding your swimmer. Always a fun challenge. I think it's the one that most skippers worry about, particularly in their first year. Look, on the day, there are lots of boats. There's hundreds of boats on the water. So it can be a bit of a challenge, not only finding your swimmer or your paddler, but also manoeuvring around the other boats that are on the water at the same time. For me, I think the key is getting in and getting out of that area as quickly as possible. That being said, that's not done at speed, that's done in a calm and collective manner. But for me, it's having a really clear plan with the team as to where the swimmer and the paddler are likely to be, and making sure we execute on that in some way, shape or form. Finding them, that's always the, what can you do is often the question I get asked. For me, it comes down to a few things. Knowing where the boat is going to be in relation to the swimmer. There's no point the swimmer swimming to the north if you come from the south from the boat's perspective, because you have to cross over through the fleet. Knowing the speed and the strength of your swimmer. If you know roughly how long it takes them to swim a kilometre, that can be really helpful in determining the time off the beach and when you expect them to be coming through. The other one that I think is also useful is if you've got a really strong swimmer and someone who can swim more than a kilometre, you don't have to pick them up at exactly the 1K mark. You can actually have them swim to 1.2, freeze it up a little bit, and means also that by that time other boats have done a change. And I think the ultimate one for us has always been that whilst there's a lot of things you can do to have the swimmer, identified. I think the paddler is really the one that we've always looked for. They're a much more easier object to sight. So as long as the paddler has collected the swimmer, which is how we always operate, then we look for the paddler and looking for things like, sombrero hats or, fluoro vests are always good. Just keep in mind that balloons are not allowed with the Rottnest channel swim. So we have to think a little bit differently than what people have done for in the past.
All swimmers must be accompanied by a support boat and cannot swim beyond 1,500 metres if unaccompanied. Boats will be able to enter the channel after the 1,000 metre red buoys, and swimmers will have from this mark until the 1,500 metre icon vessel, the Lewin Sail training ship, to unite with their boat. If a reasonable time has passed and you still cannot find your swimmer or support boat, the skipper should notify Channel Swim Base so that race officials can assist in locating them. Swimmers must tread water until their support boat arrives and may wait up there for 20 minutes. There will be officials at the Lewin helping unite you with your vessel. If you haven't located your support boat by this time, you'll be taken back to Cottesloe and recorded as did not finish.
Every year we have swimmers arrive at the Lewin vessel and they have been unable to locate their skipper because an agreed upon location wasn't put into place or the skipper was not ready. In 2010, we had a soloist arrive at the Lewin vessel unable to locate their skipper. It turns out that the skipper had slept through their alarm and at the same time 6 months of training was wasted.
Remember, paddlers enter at 500 metre, boats enter at 1,000 metre, and swimmers, you must find your boat before 1,500 metres. Once everyone has united, the skipper has the absolute responsibility for everyone on the boat, as well as their swimmer and paddler. The skipper is in charge.
The role as a skipper on swim day whilst we're on the water is really about safety, not only for those that are on the boat, but also the swimmer and those that are around you. You are in charge of a vessel, and it's important that that doesn't create any issues or concerns along the way. So as a skipper, we're always keeping an eye out for the swimmer, for the paddler, but also those others are in the water that might create a problem for my team, but also where I may get stuck out in some way, shape or form. As a skipper, you can't do it all yourself. Having a spotter is really, really essential in my mind. It's great to have a second set of eyes on board to keep an eye out for things that you just can't always see from the seat that you're in. And also they can help out a lot in terms of returning swimmers, etc. So yeah, look, as a skipper, responsible for everyone on the water, not just my team in some way, shape or form, have to make sure that we keep everyone's lives safe. And sometimes you have to make a hard call. And if you don't make the hard call, it could cost a life, and that's not something that any of us want.
Aside from hypothermia, swimming-induced pulmonary edema, or SIPE, has become increasingly common amongst open water swimmers. It is a result of swimmers exerting themselves, lungs filling up with fluid and low oxygen levels, causing the body to eventually shut down. It is important your support crew know the signs and what to look for. You'll find this and more information on how to prevent, detect and treat hypothermia in the yearbook, as well as videos on the Rottnest Channel Swim website. Preparation and awareness are critical, but don't be complacent and think it won't happen to you. Understanding the signs could save the life of you or a teammate.
After the support boat has met up with the swimmer and paddler, it's time to make your way to the island. There are two sets of buoys, one to mark the rum line, the most direct route to Thompson Bay, and one to mark the northern boundary. If using GPS coordinates to map the route, it is suggested you use the rum line coordinates. The northern boundary markers are there simply as that, a boundary. This boundary marks the start of the rescue corridor and the ferry channel. Therefore, you must stay south of these buoys at all times. The rescue corridor is the area designated immediately 10 metres north of the northern boundary buoys. If assistance is required, radio channel Swim Base, and they may ask you to go to the rescue corridor. This will help the rescue crew find you.
Our main priority is swimmer safety. For this reason, we have a rule in place that all vessels over 10 metres and all yachts have to stay to the extremities of the fleet, that is the north and south of the fleet. If you are staying to the extremities of the fleet, a tender will be required to drop off your swimmers on the rum line, and a 6-knot speed limit must be adhered to at all time. The last thing we want is 10-metre plus boats and yachts manoeuvring their way through the swim course and posing a threat to other swimmers.
Some other on-water protocols you need to be aware of are: if a swimmer or someone on your boat becomes unwell and requires medical attention, for example, severe hypothermia, contact Channel Swim Base and await further instructions. If necessary, Fremantle Volunteer Sea Rescue Group can get an on-water ambulance to you in minutes. If you have a swimmer or crew member who is unwell and is assessed as non-urgent, for example, they're seasick, you have the option of having the person taken to Fremantle or Rottnest by a rescue boat, and your team will be billed post-swim. One of the most asked questions received is, what happens if there's a shark? Well, if you see a shark, radio Channel Swim Base on VHF channel 77 and state the details of the sighting, approximate location on the swim course, and if you can, take note of your GPS coordinates. If you're unable to make radio contact, then contact the phone numbers provided on the skipper protocols. Channel Swim Base will then give further instructions. In the event the shark is sighted, Channel Swim Base will deploy vessels to investigate and report back to the fleet. If the sighting is of high risk, then skippers of vessels within a specified radius will be ordered to remove their swimmer from the water immediately, along with anyone around them. If there is a shark attack, the event will be abandoned.
Sharks are not uncommon in the ocean, and most of these sharks do not pose a threat to swimmers. However, if our race officials deem that a spotted shark does pose a threat, an evacuation of the immediate area will be facilitated. A text message will be sent out to all swimmers and skippers to advise them of this. Failure to comply with this direction will result in disqualification and future banning from the event. Where possible and safe to do so, a re-entry will be implemented to the west of the exclusion zone.
More information on shark evacuations and re-entry can be found in the yearbook. When using the radio on event day, your call sign is your race number. For example, race number 100. Ensure the volume is turned up during the entire event and be careful not to leave your microphone on. VHF 77 is for event use only and should not be used for friendly banter or otherwise, particularly during an emergency situation. Please keep the use of the radio to a minimum and only if you require assistance or reporting something. Now, if the radios are misused and the person is caught, strong sanctions will be given and the Department of Transport Marine alerted. Give way to all ships at all times, including ferries. Ships shouldn't be moving through the channel on race day. However, if there are, skippers will be advised of shipping movements during the day via radio. Again, have that radio turned on and volume up. If you need to withdraw from the event, your skipper must inform Channel Swim Base via radio and timing straps must be returned. You can return these to the Fremantle Volunteer Sea Rescue Operations Centre located at Cantonment Hill or to the help desk at Rottnest. This is how we account for swimmers, so please make sure you do this. The spectacle of the day is incredible and it can be tempting to send up your drone to take a photo. Don't. There are now a number of event helicopters on race day and drones are banned across the course. Aside from your team being disqualified and facing possible fines, you put the lives of those there to protect you at risk, with the results of a collision being catastrophic. Check out all this information in the yearbook and skipper protocols, and don't forget to pack them for race day.
There are some key event rules you need to familiarise yourself with and adhere to. It is required that you reach the red marker buoys by the prescribed cut-off times found in your yearbook. They are set at the 10 kilometre, 15 kilometre, 18, 19 and 19.25 kilometre marks. One of the most critical race-related rules, particularly for solos, pertains to non-assistance. Swimmers cannot touch anything or use anything that aids flotation. For solos, this means when receiving food or fluids, you need to find ways not to touch your boat or paddler.
So obviously with such a long race, you're definitely going to eat and drink during the day. The food that you take on board will be food that you've already tried. My advice is don't try something new that you bought off the internet the week before and have new stomach issues halfway across the race. You just need to ensure that you do not touch the boat. There'd be nothing worse than being disqualified for holding on to the paddler while you're feeding. So they need to either give it to you on a paddle or if they can throw you the water, or they can actually tie a rope around your water bottle, give it to you. What you don't want to do is leave a pile of empty bottles out in the middle of the ocean. Just ensure that they're getting back in. Just also ensure that the amount of food and the amount of drink that you're taking in has been well planned. So you need to have a schedule, and that schedule may be for every 30 minutes or every 20 minutes, depending on what stage of the race you're in. But your paddler will know that schedule, and he will give you a sign of 2 or 3 minutes prior to let you know that you're coming up into a feed. And then before you leave that feeding station, you need to say, next time, this is what I want. So he's got that all prepared. Also ensure that you've got another lot on the boat, just in case that paddler tips over.
The changeovers for duos and teams need to be done at least 10 metres from the support boat, and swimmers must make contact above the water.
One of the biggest dangers in our swim is your own boat. For this reason, we have a rule in place that all engines must be placed into neutral when performing changeovers. This is a result of not placing an engine into neutral during a swimmer changeover. This is obviously a less than ideal outcome for the swimmer and can prove life-threatening.
Changing overs are quite dangerous in the fact that you need to ensure that everyone is on the same page with embarking and disembarking the boat. Not only the swimmers, but the support crew and the skipper also need to know when it's happening, just to ensure that the engine is in neutral and the prop is off. That's the most important thing. Everyone's seen that graphic image that comes up every year, and you don't want to be that person.
One of the most important rules of the event is support boats must not make way astern. This means they must not move backwards or reverse under any circumstances. If a skipper needs to stop or slow the vessel's forward way, they are permitted to use reverse thrust. However, the vessel must not make way astern.
Early detection and manoeuvring is always better than the concept that you hear about going astern or reversing, which clearly is not allowed under the rules of the channel swim. In the event that you do need to stop or arrest the boat, then obviously using reverse may be required, but at no point do I go backwards. Always be mindful that whilst you know where your swimmer is and the paddler may be, you don't always know where others are behind your boat.
Drafting is not in the spirit of the event and is against race rules. Drafting is when a swimmer is following directly behind a paddlecraft, support boat or another swimmer. Skippers are not permitted to consume or be affected by alcohol during the event. Race officials, compliance and medical personnel are empowered to disqualify any entrant whose skipper breaches this rule. Follow all rules and you'll be fine. We want everyone to be safe and to finish, so familiarise yourself with the event rules in the yearbook or online. The race official vessels will have yellow signs on either side, and the referees will be wearing green shirts. It's important for your own safety that you follow their instructions at all times. Race referees enforce race day rules and can ask a swimmer to leave the water if they breach these rules or miss a cut-off. In addition to race officials, medical and compliance personnel are authorised to enforce event rules. This includes medical personnel advising a swimmer to pull out. A team or duo can proceed with the remaining swimmers or swimmer, as the whole team is not required to cross the finish line. However, a solo directed to stop swimming has unfortunately finished their attempt. If the advice is ignored, the swimmer, team or duo will be disqualified and their team not recorded. Medical staff will not make this call lightly, so please listen to their direction, as it's for the welfare of the swimmer.
As you get closer to Rottnest Island, the fleet will start funneling and it can become congested. All swimmers and paddlers must enter Thompson's Bay through the 18-kilometre Phillip Rock Gate. Yachts, as well as powerboats that are 10 metres or greater, must leave their swimmer and paddler and proceed to their pre-arranged post-race location. Either a tender or paddler must accompany the swimmer for the next 1 kilometre. Powerboats that are less than 10 metres may also leave at this point. However, the same conditions will apply. Swimmers must be accompanied by either a tender or paddler.
Exiting at the end of the race, it can be a stressful exercise, and the key is to knowing well ahead of the 18 kilometre mark which side you're going to exit on and being on that side when you get to that point. Exiting to me is a slow one. You don't do right angle turns, you exit slowly and carefully, and also doing it at the right point by which you're asked to leave given your boat size.
At the 19 kilometre no boats mark, all support boats must peel off and leave their swimmer or swimmers to finish the race. When support boats leave the race, either peel off to the north or south and stay there. Don't cross back over the swim channel. Similarly, be aware of navigational hazards such as Inner Kingston Reef. Paddlers will accompany their swimmers for a further 250 metres and will depart at the 19.25 kilometre Rottnest Express buoys to the south only. Please consider this in your planning. Paddlers can only leave to the south of the channel. Swimmers will then complete the final 400 metres accompanied by general surf lifesaving personnel.
The process as you approach Rottnest Island. The green section is the swim channel. This means these moorings will be closed during the event. Swimmers will swim down the black arrowed line and land at the finish line just south of the fuel jetty. There is only an area south for paddlecraft. This is demarcated and signed. The paddlecraft area will be located right where the old finish line was. There is no time limit, however, paddlecrafts must be removed by 5 p.m. You'll also note that the Rottnest Island Authority has allocated a competitor boat-only area just north of the fuel jetty. This will work on a first-in, first-served basis. You must have a Rottnest Channel Swim boat sticker and a suitably sized boat to be able to anchor here. This area should be able to hold about 50 boats. Please do not anchor outside the marked area as it blocks emergency service vessel access.
My post-event meet plan has already occurred as part of pre-planning so that all the swimmers and the crew know exactly where the boat will be after the race in case they need to get any gear or personal effects off the boat itself. I would say, however, it is important that if there's any urgent items that a swimmer may need when they get onto the island, that it's taken across separately by someone else because it can take a while to meet up with the boat afterwards.
Loading zones are available for pickup and drop-off only. This includes the T jetty on the main jetty, the hotel jetty and the north side of the fuel jetty. For the safety of all competitors in the event, we ask that you respect all closures. With regard to mooring use, you will need either be a licensee red sticker or authorised user yellow sticker issued by the RIA, and you can only moor your boat to moorings with a disc the same colour as the top left corner of your sticker. The aqua blue coloured Rottnest annual admission sticker does not authorise you to use a mooring. Green moorings are hire moorings and can be booked via the Rottnest Island website. Further, please do not raft up boats on moorings or tie multiple boats alongside each other. The Rottnest Island Authority rangers will be patrolling these areas to ensure safety and compliance. Fines apply for incorrect mooring use. Other important information you need to be aware of is that there is no beach anchoring between the fuel and hotel jetties between 6 p.m. on Friday to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Tenders are only permitted in demarcated areas. There will be no fuel available from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the day. Unleaded and diesel fuel will be available after 5 p.m. This year, both swimmers and support crew do not need to pay admission fees. All boats displaying the Rottnest Channel Swim race number sticker will have their fees waived by the Rottnest Island Authority in an acknowledgement of the incredible role support crews play in getting swimmers safely to Rottnest. As you'd expect. Accommodation is fully booked. It is against the Rottnest Island Authority regulations to remain on the island without designated accommodation. And it's important not to forget general housekeeping. Be safe, be friendly and courteous. Plan ahead and respect and look after your island.
Swimmers will arrive at the beach south of the fuel jetty and make their way up and over the ramp. Once you're in the finish line enclosure, volunteers will remove your timing strap. Do not do this yourself. The volunteers are there to help. You'll be given fruit and a bottle of water before making your way through the exit tent and into the swimmer recovery area. If you're not feeling well after the swim, visit the medical tent located at the finish line. You have the choice of exiting immediately, spending time in the swimmer recovery area, or you can line up to get your photo taken. Prize packs for solos and category prize winners are to be located from the help desk and prize collection tent next to the dome. Duo and team prize winners will be sent text messages, and category prizes can be collected between 2 and 5 p.m. So make sure you have your phone on. At 5 p.m, all solos need to return to the finish line for the annual soloist photo. Being in this photo is a well-earned badge of honour, so don't miss out. Then it's time to unwind.
We're heading into Rottnest Island when the boats start to leave you with about 1 kilometre to go, and then the paddlers part off as well. And it's the first time in the 19.7 kilometres or 20 kilometres or 25 even, depending on what line you've taken, that all 4 swimmers or the 2 duo swimmers are together in the water at the same time. And it's such a sense of accomplishment knowing that you've done this journey together, no matter how many hours it's taken you, and you head in together as a band of 4 or 2, and you approach the island and getting shallower and shallower, and you know that the end is in sight, and then running, or if you have the energy, up the ramp. It's just such a great feeling together to know that you've done it together.
Well, any soloist who is going out for the first time or their 10th time is going to visualise the finish line. So while they're training in the ocean or in the pool, they're visualising that there is a finish line and what that looks like. You know, every person that does a solo, whether it's their first or whether it's their 5th, visualises that finish line. So during their training, whether they're swimming in the ocean or swimming in the pool, they visualise getting out of that water. So after a big day in the ocean, and sometimes it can be a little bit tougher than others, you reach Phillip Rock and all of a sudden the water starts to get smoother. You look down and you'll be able to see very clearly the ocean starting to get shallower and shallower, and you'll see the sea life there and you get excited. My only bit of advice is don't start to sprint now because there's still 2 kilometres to go. This is a time where you can really enjoy it. You can be happy with the feed. You'll see that the relationship with your paddler and your boat's probably at a new level of enjoyment. Then all of a sudden your boat's going to peel away. A little bit longer, your paddler is going to peel away and you're all alone. This is a time that you're just going to enjoy. This is the last bit of swim, and you can enjoy it by swimming slowly. You can sprint the last bit in, but you're going to have a chorus of people on the side, and you know there's a whole pile of people there that are really excited that you have just swum that. So when you start to feel the sand underneath your fingers, you start to stand up for the first time. You might be a little bit wobbly, but what a great feeling. You have just done something that very few people will ever do in their life. And you can congratulate yourself as you go up that ramp, and you can see all the people there applauding the effort that you've just put in.
Well, Noelda, that almost wraps up the special edition of 10 News First. Here's Michael Schultz with the weather.
Thanks, Tim. For Saturday the 23rd of February, I'd love to tell you the weather will be everything you hope for. But instead, I can only tell you you can't worry about the weather. Just be prepared for any forecast. Regular weather forecasts will be provided on the event website, and you can check back with 10 News First a couple of days before the event, when we should be able to give you a better idea of what to expect. Weather's unpredictable, and the race committee will make their decision on the morning of the event if conditions are fine for the swim. If the weather is deemed unsuitable or conditions are likely to deteriorate, the event may be cancelled. Now, this has only happened once in the swim's 28-year history. Should the event be cancelled, please do not disregard the decision. The only reason the event would be cancelled is because it's unsafe to proceed. A text message will be sent between 4 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. to advise whether the event will proceed. This will be sent to the skipper and the team captain. The message will also be broadcast on the race channel VHF 77. Please note there'll be no refund if the event is cancelled, but entrants will be offered a guaranteed entry into the 2020 event. That's all on the weather front.
Thanks, Schultzy. Well, there is a lot to think about when participating in the Rottnest Channel Swim as a skipper, swimmer or paddler. We encourage you to read your yearbooks. It has everything you need to know to help you prepare for this awesome event and to get to Wadgem Up safely. Each year I am excited and I look forward to it every year. I'll be seeing you at the finish line.
You swimming this year?
No.
All right, I'll be there at the start line. We wish you an amazing and safe crossing from all of us at 10. Stay salty, swimmers.